LBC News. Breaking now.
I want to take you live to the US now, where there's a developing story we understand in San Diego. Let's bring you the latest from Simon Marks, LBC News Washington correspondent. Evening to you, Simon. What can you tell us?
Evening to you, James. There is a massive police response now to reports of an active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego. That is the largest community center and mosque for members of the Islamic community in San Diego, out in California. The mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria, has taken to social media to say, I am aware of the active shooter situation at the Islamic Center in Claremont and am continuing to receive updates from law enforcement. Emergency personnel, he says, are on the scene and actively working to protect the community and secure the area. And certainly we are seeing images now live from San Diego that show a vast law enforcement response to those initial reports that came in around an hour ago at around 11:40 in the morning local time out in California. That's 2:40 in the afternoon here on the east coast of the United States, 7:40 in the evening London time. A massive police and law enforcement response to this. SWAT teams are there on the scene. There are large armored vehicles on the scene. It is very unclear still what has taken place, whether there are casualties arising out of this event, but definitely we are now seeing an intensity of focus by America's news channels on this gathering force by police, members of the community all being urged to stay indoors in the immediate surroundings of that Islamic Center in San Diego as we wait for more news about what precisely has taken place there. Reports, and they are only reports at this point, of an active shooter at that Islamic Center, but law enforcement retirees who are giving various opinions on America's news channels are suggesting that the size of the police response to this certainly would be indicative of some sort of issue that needs to be dealt with at the scene. But again, early days in this story. The Islamic Center in San Diego, according to police now, is an active scene but contained. So whether that means they are confident that there was some kind of a shooting there, perhaps they know where the perpetrator was pinned down inside the building, possibly already dealt with, we do not know. Active but contained is the latest word from police about the situation that is playing out on the other side of the country.
Yeah, as and when we know more, we will of course bring it to you here on LBC News. Meanwhile, Simon, significant development in the past hour regarding the war with Iran.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, who knew that President Donald Trump was, in fact, planning to launch fresh military strikes on Iran tomorrow? But he has disclosed that in a posting on his Truth social media account, announcing that now he has been persuaded by the leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to abandon that plan to launch a fresh series of military strikes on Iran. He says that serious negotiations are now taking place, and in the opinion of those leaders of Qatar, Saudi and the UAE, a deal will be made which will be very acceptable to the US as well as all countries in the Middle East and beyond. He says that this deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran. The devil, of course, in that will be contained in the detail. But more importantly, immediately, he says, based on my respect for the leaders of those three countries, I have instructed Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Daniel Kaine, and the United States military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full, large-scale assault on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. So Donald Donald Trump kicking the ball slightly down the road at the behest of the leaders of Saudi, the UAE and Qatar, who, according to the president, believe that a deal is in the works. But we've heard that before, and we have seen it fail to materialise in the past.
And Simon, talking of Donald Trump, we've heard a lot over recent weeks about this ballroom, this new ballroom at the White House that he appears to care a lot about. The funding for it may now be under threat.
Well, President Trump has insisted that up until now, he is funding the ballroom, entirely avoiding the use of taxpayer dollars. It's all donations and his own money for the ballroom. But then it became apparent that the ballroom is one thing. What's underneath it is another. And the plan is to build a highly advanced, secure area for the president and other top officials to retreat to in the event of any kind of an attack. Secure areas that would match places like the Situation Room in the White House itself. And for that, Republicans in Congress wanted $1 billion in funding to help defray the costs, taxpayer money for that. Now, what's happened over the last few hours is that we've learned that the Senate parliamentarian, who is not a political official, the parliamentarian is a civil servant who decides whether the contents of particular bills are appropriate and legal in terms of the way in which financial requests are being made. The Senate parliamentarian has said that this request, which has come from the Senate Judiciary Committee, has nothing to do with the Judiciary Committee, and it needs to come, if it's going to be funded, via an entirely different mechanism. So the parliamentarian has overruled this effort by Republicans to try and squirrel away $1 billion in taxpayer funding to help pay for everything that's going to be beneath the ballroom, buried underground beneath the White House complex, and that is going to pose a fresh crimp in the president's plans. Doesn't necessarily derail them. Republicans can go back to the drawing board and try to find another way of providing that funding. But it also, James, accentuates the fact that President Trump is planning to spend boatloads of money on a ballroom, on his triumphal arch, on the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, at a time when today we learnt that 64% of the American public oppose his war on Iran in large measure because of the economic dislocation that it is causing them when they go to the supermarket or the petrol station to fill their car up with gas. And this news that he was planning to try and get $1 billion additionally to spend on the ballroom gives Democrats the opening to say he's ready to spend lots of your taxpayer money at a time when he's not giving you any assistance to defray the impacts of his war on Iran on your wallet.
Simon, thank you. Simon Marks, LBC News Washington correspondent. And just to remind you of that developing story that Simon mentioned there, we've heard in the past half an hour or so from the mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria, saying that he is aware of an active shooter situation at the Islamic Center of San Diego in Claremont and is continuing to receive updates from law enforcement. He says emergency personnel are on the scene and actively working to protect the community and secure the area. As and when we know more, we will bring it to you here on LBC News.